Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 433 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada, recorded October 7th, 2024.
We need your help to support the Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist. Buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
Excellent. Now, our favorite segment of the show. What are we drinking? Ian, what are you drinking this evening, sir?
Well, unlike the last week where I was binging like no tomorrow, I decided to go back on the wagon and go back to my black tea with no sugar and a large glass of water because I need to detox. It's like broth week now. So,
That's all right. Anything off the Patriot Challenge?
well, Patriot Challenge, I did discover that when you're down in the tropics on vacation, that you will drink no less than 1 gallon a day, which is amazing.
Of water or alcohol?
Well,
Or
that's
both?
that's just water. I mean, there's also the booze on top of it. All those umbrella drinks, they got to be watered down with something, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So, uh, I was shocked actually. So lots of water lately, but that did not compensate for the unhealthy choices I made. Let's see here. But Patriot Challenge, we did do lots of walking. I actually climbed like no tomorrow. I think I sent you guys some pictures of some old forts and stuff that required a large climb up mountains, which was good. And let's see here.
Harry Cannon's one.
Yeah, the buried cannons one and a couple other ones because they were just like, yeah, there's all sorts of weird stuff kind of overgrown up there. Yeah, so I guess hiking, water, and that's pretty much it. Practicing a skill, not really. Yeah. Pierre?
Oh, as per usual, I'm drinking whiskey tonight. Got my water as a backup. Patriot Challenge. I was sleep deprived for a few days. Fully got better now. Um, but still had to function as a normal member of society, uh, as normal as I can be. But kind of had to plan out packing extras and last minute things, kind of on a real quick thing for me and my daughter. Had to go to a family event funeral um, for a day or two, and then literally coming back and the next like coming back late night, next day leaving out of town again for a few days for work and this that. So I guess you could say it kind of worked on planning ahead and
No, that's
packing for two trips at one time. And
yeah, that's hard.
so
I've been
far,
in that boat before, and like it sucks.
yeah, and so far I haven't forgotten anything on either one of the trips. So I think I did all right.
Yeah,
And yeah, drinking lots of the water.
oh, that's good.
So what about you, Gavin?
I am drinking Rittenhouse rye and Diet Pepsi this evening. It was a gift from some friends a little while ago. They presented me with the bottle, and immediately we had to do 3 shots, as is tradition. Um,
Yeah.
Not bad stuff. Patriot Challenge. Yeah, I too have been trying to do my best to people and navigate our healthcare system whilst also being sleep deprived. So yeah, that sometimes just making it through the day is is a skill all unto itself. Um, so yeah, trying to do my water and all of the things and the reading. I've been slacking a little on the reading, but I am reading a book that Andrew recommended, The Children of Ash and Elm. It's all about Viking history. It pairs up nicely with the book that I did like a year ago or a year and a half ago, maybe now. Also about the same thing and all the Viking magic and this and that and everything else. So if you're interested in Viking stuff, it's a good read.
Nice.
It is
Check
like
out.
a history book with lots of like researchy stuff and not like fiction
Hmm.
because the
Right.
gods are real.
Yeah, of course they are. Randomly interesting question. Is the Rittenhouse rye, is that actually like made by who, or is that just
No, I think it's just
happy coincidence?
coincidence that it's that name.
Happy coincidence.
Yeah. It's not bad though. It's a decent ride.
Children of Ash and Elm, you said, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I will find that.
It talks all about like Vikings and like historical stuff about them and who they were as a people and all of that, and sort of tries to demystify them. Turn them into less of a fetish, if you will, and a real thing. We'll
Like a
talk
real
about eggs
fetish,
later.
or-
Yeah, we'll talk about eggs later. Upcoming events, there aren't any at the moment. Army Run is over with. But news.
Hmm.
So, for those that don't know, this is a pro-gun podcast. And this is a topic that's been talked about a fair bit. Federal firearm buyback program. So the 2020 order in council that happened after the guy went and set fire to a bunch of places and shot some people and then eventually got shot himself. Prompted
guns
all
that
of
weren't
this.
legally possessed,
Yeah.
or none of them restricted or on
Yeah.
this list.
Yeah, he wasn't allowed to own any of it. Somehow he managed to get all of it. But all of that aside, that spurred on this buyback, which I don't know how you buy something back when you never owned it to begin with. But we're in 2024 now, so it has been 4 and change years since May of when this went in, and we still don't have to give them back for another 2025, or did they go to 26?
I thought it was 25 was after the election.
Yeah. So October, so Devil's Night, it was supposed to be Devil's Night of this year, so like in a month-ish, just shy. And then they extended it out to 2025.
Yeah, so in this
Yeah.
article it says end of October 2025. The
Yeah.
turn in.
Yeah, so that's how long our so the dangerous things that we've had,
Yeah, 5.5
all
years.
this time and have not had to turn in yet. That's the key part of that. We have not had to turn in anything yet. So nobody has been compensated for these things yet.
But they're too dangerous to own.
Yeah. And so far, with 0 confiscations, they have somehow spent $67 million. And
Which is more
no
than
plan.
More than it was supposed to cost overall, or something like that, wasn't it? Or was that last time around? They said it was good.
Well, it was $2 million last time to register.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this time I think they said 11 million was all it was going to cost. But so
Yeah.
just a quick question: how many of those brand new Sig 320 pistols, or maybe Colt rifles for the military, could you buy for $67 million?
Or how much could $67.2 million benefit mental health?
Fight crime with more police officers,
Or buy a
just
couple
the
of
healthcare
scanners for
system.
the border.
and like we always said before, it's like every time they talk about budget cuts, they're always like, well, that's hospitals and everything else in schools you're taking away from
Yeah.
kids whenever you cut the budget. Well, there's how many schools or freaking hospitals can you buy with $67 million? So
Yeah, if it just saves one life.
and that would
Right.
definitely save one life if it was a hospital. So
yeah.
100%. I mean, how much time would you spend less splash if you didn't have to splash a badge going to the ER?
And
That's
so
the question of the night.
crazy thing here is though that's not even the whole thing. So it's the Public Safety Canada is the one that has spent 67.2 million. The RCMP have spent nearly 11.5 million of that money.
Doing what?
well, to be fair, public safety
sorry.
probably
And the RCMP on top of that has spent, I'm trying to read this article, it's poorly written, but it sounds like the RCMP has spent 11.1 million.
well, to be fair, I mean, Bill Blair was in charge of public safety for at least part of that time. So I mean, a lot of that could have been his liquor budget.
Yeah,
Off-site meetings.
Yeah.
But they're saying 11.5 million of that money went to external consultants for software, logistic, communication support, and more.
Yeah. And so I don't know for people that don't follow Tracy on the social medias and stuff like that. So there's a guy, Donald Plett, that went out and sort of brought some of this to light and, mentioned some of the names of these places. So on Twitter and Facebook, I believe Tracy posted this. So she looked at the list, she found this company name, and she's like, oh, this consulting company has offices near me. I'm going to go visit them and interview them and see what they have to say about this program, right?
Oh, yes.
So she goes to the first address of this place, and it's a residential address. But I mean, lots of people run, businesses out of their homes. It looked like a nice home. So she rings on the doorbell, and apparently an elderly gentleman answers the door. Does not work for the company.
And has no clue what she's talking about, I bet.
Well, so he does, and he says that, well, they don't operate out of here. I don't work for them, but they use this address as a mailing address.
Seems totally legit.
Yeah. So she's like, okay. So she goes to the next one, which takes her to an actual like commercial building. And there's an office, and so she enters the office and kind of knocks on the door there to get into the actual office part of the building. And I guess it's like a cleaning lady or something. She's not really sure. Opens the door. She starts asking, the cleaning lady, like, can she speak to somebody? Or, the lady's like, there's nobody here.
No.
Yeah. No.
No.
No English. And so, goes to find a pen to write down the name of somebody that she can get into contact with. So they have this whole office thing there. Like, it doesn't look very big, but like more than a single room, of which nobody's there.
Yeah, and on the books probably costs a quite load of boatload of money.
So she's like, okay, well, there's a third address here that's very close by. So she goes, and on the outside of this sort of more elaborate building, there's the company name. She's like, well, this is a good start. So she goes in, and they have like the big corporate buildings, like, where the elevators are. They've got that list of all the offices and stuff, and the suite number and all that nonsense, right? So they're on there. It tells her to go up to this suite. So she goes up, and it's just one of those big open concept spaces that I think she said was like some sort of a construction firm or something like that. And she's like, okay, well, this is weird. This isn't the company that there. Then she sort of looks in the corner and sees an office way off on the side that has that same company name. And I can't remember what it's called. I can probably dig it up somewhere. But she goes to see that. But upon closer inspection, it's a company that has the same name, but it's like a graphic design or something like that, and not an actual consultant. So 3 locations, not a single employee, and they got like several $1 million to come up with this buyback plan that doesn't exist at all.
I could probably make a wager as to how they vote every year.
Yeah. But like, that's insane. Like, this is even crazier than like the ArriveCan nonsense, where like at least there was a company to track down for that.
At least you make one dude cry in Parliament.
Yeah.
But I will say, at least it costs us less.
So far.
ArriveCan. Yeah, I know,
but like,
now.
as shitty as ArriveCan was, at least they delivered something. I mean, we certainly overpaid for it, and it didn't do anything useful, but we got a thing. Not that I want them to buy guns back. Don't get me wrong. But they have spent all this money, and not a single person has been compensated. Not even a business where they know where all of these things are and could, like, all this talk about the economy and this and that. Like, this is, something that they could absolutely do to help the economy, is put some money into these businesses. Because if they have several $1 million in inventory and guns they can't sell, they can't return it either. That's just sitting there, that's holding capital that could be used to literally do anything else.
Yeah,
Again,
And-
not saying we should do the buyback or that people should accept it, but for a business, I would certainly understand why.
yeah, and it says in this article that Public Safety Canada plans to roll out program in 2 phases, which begins with business owners, who's, as we were
Yeah.
just talking about, who hold banned stock and individual owners. Approximately 2,000 models, the variant of the assault right style firearms are covered by the 2020 ban. Proposed compensation is based on original pricing and ranges from about 1,100 to more than 6,200 per weapon. Deadline
Yeah.
is 2025, but
Yeah.
like,
Well, and
you
yeah,
know,
so
the
they're
problem I have with that is if you bought an upper and one lower at, let's say, $1,100, and then you decided to put all these things in, are they gonna recognize all these things
oh fuck no.
proper compensation?
No,
Yeah,
well,
hey,
first of all, you never
here-
leave them on the thing anyway, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're gonna say, like, even if you didn't, you bought it the day before when it was still legal and had all the pieces and assembled it and didn't fire a single round through it, so effectively it's brand new.
Yeah.
They will not give you
Brand new
Like-
pricing.
replacement value. They will give you market value, which is fuck all.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm shocked that they're even saying that some of these things go up to $6,000, but I guess when you start talking some of those, 50 cals and some of the other things that got banned, they can't deny it, whether they'll actually give you that. But I mean, they're saying here that the original estimate for the buyback was 756 million. So they've already burned through almost 10% of that, and they haven't even come back. They got a single thing off. Like,
But also, they haven't traced any of those back to any illicit crimes or
Yeah.
scenarios where, safety could be a thing. But we could talk about guns that have less than a 4-inch barrel or over capacity magazines and
yeah, I know it's just
all
insane that
that.
like they've spent all this money and don't have anything to show for it. So it's, and then you start tracking the money, and then
Yeah.
surprise, surprise.
Like if I'm not mistaken, I mean, obviously nothing to do with legal gun owners and any of this
Yeah.
buyback program, right? But I'm pretty sure crime has kind of gotten up in certain areas,
Yeah.
and almost all of it has been related to illicit guns, gun smuggling, being imported from somewhere where technically they're prohibited in this country anyways. So it being used in a crime is also like a double taboo, which makes it okay because if math like two bads make a good, I think that's how they do this stuff.
Well, from one money laundering scheme to the next. Parliament has been ground to a halt over conservative allegations of liberal corruption. If only it was that easy to get the government to stop. All we had to do was accuse them of being corrupt. Maybe we should have done that, 8 years ago? Oh, wait. 433 episodes of that exact same thing.
So,
it wasn't
so
until the speaker
does that mean we halted their paychecks too?
Oh, no. Let's not be
Oh.
crazy. They got to eat
So it's
still.
not a real halt.
No,
just,
it's not like in the States where the government shuts down and nobody gets paid and nobody works.
What blows
so
my
they
mind
just
is
don't work and keep getting paid.
Yeah.
it wasn't until the Speaker of the House got pissed off that finally, something actually happened. But even then, this still won't break down the government. I mean, they seem to be like
No,
bulletproof.
it's not
Yeah.
gonna do shit, unfortunately. We've gone full clown world, but
Yeah,
for
it is.
another rant.
It is shocking given how liberal Speaker Fergus is. I mean, he's obviously part of the Liberal Party, which is why they appointed him. But once you assume the position of House Speaker, you're supposed to become impartial, or as best as you can. But given his behavior as of late, where he will, readily reprimand conservative MPs who have even apologized and retracted their statements. He seems to basically let the liberals do and say whatever it is they please, even to the point where he himself will go and start like campaigning for the liberals and promoting them, even though he is supposed to, in his position, be neutral. So I am shocked that he actually did this. Although
Well,
I
I
don't
think
see how he couldn't.
he's just pressuring them for an extra big bribe or something. It's got to be what it is.
Yeah, his 2 apartments isn't enough. He needs a third. Is that?
Or he needs to be outfitted. Maybe like he needs to go to HomeSense or something and just wants to,
Yeah,
work on his
deck the
crib.
place
So
out a little.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So yeah, we are, on Thursday. So now it's been, a full week. They've been shut down, and they haven't been able to bring any new business because in the words of House Speaker Fergus, clearly did not fully comply.
But the
So
amazing thing is, the country still manages to operate without government.
yeah, it's weird.
Huh. Maybe there's a lesson there somewhere.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's a criminal investigation going on. The government has been requested to hand over some information to them. They have refused to hand over the information to them, claiming all kinds of nonsense, like they did with like
Everything.
well, but in the trial for the injunction for the ordering council, they're like, no. This information is so dangerous to give out that we can't even give it to just the judge to look at, because even them looking at it would completely undermine public safety. They've tried to pull some shenanigans like that here.
Didn't they win, but at least
Yeah.
injunction for the other bullshit?
Yeah, so the liberals are claiming that ordering the production of documents to be handed over to the RCMP blurs the lines between Parliament and the judiciary.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Parliament makes the laws, and then the
Get to break
cops
the laws.
enforce the laws. That's how that works. But like, who holds them accountable? Like,
Should
know,
be police at that point, which
yeah. But like,
I
if
guess
the
could be
RCMP
RCMP.
goes and says, okay, hand us these documents, are they going to hand them over? I mean, there's already an ongoing criminal investigation. They should be handing over the things, but they probably just know better than to ask because they won't get it. All
The
they'll get
minute-
is
Yeah.
more pressure, like they did when, okay, so you need to make some shit up because we need to ban all the guns. It's the answer they're going to get, but for this,
Well,
right?
But the minute the
The-
RCMP commissioner becomes a political appointee versus an elected to like sheriff down in the states or something, you're never going to have them come back on the government at all because it's a political appointment, right?
Well, that and like the
how
Liberal
many
House leader is
old
saying
people
that
do we need to trample?
yeah. Well, this is what they're saying here is this Liberal House leader, Karina Gould. Apparently the request for the government to display these documents and hand them over tramples on the charter rights of Canadians. So interesting word
Wow.
that you used there, Pierre.
I didn't even get that far in the article, I'm not gonna lie.
Like, so they're okay to trample on all of our rights and force us to get, medical
Especially,
rape and things.
in
I don't want to say the words
Indigenous.
because it'll tweak us on the tubes again, but like, you guys all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's okay to
Yes.
trample grannies.
yeah, quite literally
Yes.
trample grannies.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
long as, they probably wouldn't vote liberal, so it's okay.
And rightly so here. And Scheer said that the charter exists to protect the people from the government. It's not to protect the government from accountability by the people, which is exactly what that is. The Bill of Rights is not granting us anything that we didn't already have. That is simply government acknowledging and recognizing those things.
Or reaffirming them, or
Yeah.
Yeah, but also
I-
it helping government more than any other
Yeah.
citizen in this country.
So yeah. I mean, this is getting ridiculous here. Like,
Did Bukase.
yeah, they've been asked for these things, so they found that 90 cases were conflict of interest policies. So like that seems to be the MO for the liberals this go around, is that like basically everything is a conflict of interest. I mean, I know that the ethics commission thing is a whole new concept, so we haven't really had it for that long, but like the principle of the thing has been around since the start of government. But like 90 of them, and this doesn't even count the ones that he's already had like his PP slap for, which isn't a
Did
whole
he?
lot. It's like $200 every time he does it, and he probably likes it. So he's happy to pay that money. But like 90
I mean, it's our
cases,
fucking money anyways.
yeah. So they found that former chairs have failed to recuse themselves from decisions that benefited the organization to which they had ties, and all kinds of other financial corruption. Can't believe I'm agreeing with the Bloc Québécois leader, but his quote is a lack of respect for democracy.
But we.
Well,
Yeah.
broken
Good
clock
sound
and all
stuff.
that.
Yeah. And then just flipping over to the next article, because it's kind of a follow-up now. So like we're, getting into our second week here. So that's how long this is going on, that they're refusing to hand over the documents. And conservatives have vowed they will continue the debate until the liberals hand over the RCMP unredacted documents about the Green Tech Foundation that was found to have misspent government money.
I mean, I don't disagree. And it wouldn't be any different if any political party is misled funds for whatever reason. We're suspect of it. And I don't condone just wasting resources in general and being like, oh, you looked at me the wrong way. You should justify something by showing me all the things, but with
Well,
proper
I hate
reason.
I hate to use the what about argument, but I mean, let's face it. Brian Mulroney took a bribe in the order of hundreds of thousands. It wasn't even millions to buy a bunch of Airbuses for the Crown Corporation Air Canada at the time, and the Liberals hounded him for 2 decades before he finally came totally clean and claimed it on his taxes and all that other stuff. And here they're talking about millions upon millions, and they're like,
And this is even the first scandal.
and it's not the first scandal, but it's
This
only been a
isn't the
week.
first.
It's only been a week, and they're like, let it go, man. It's been a week. Come on, like, what's your problem?
Yeah.
They're like,
they're not even admitting to anything.
yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
So I'm just blown away by how the double standard can exist in this sphere like this. But
yeah. So I mean, the Auditor General found dozens of cases of conflict of interest and several cases of money going to ineligible projects over the summer. As a result of this, that Green Technology Foundation has been abolished. It is so corrupt that it's not like, you know what, okay, like if you return the money or we fix this or it go like, no, just done. No more.
so it basically got Kielburgered, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Which is another scandal, funnily enough, but hey, what are you gonna do?
But yes.
So now we can't even technically trace anybody or do anything with it. Anything.
Yeah. But it's saying here that the Liberals could put forward a motion to end the debate, but they would need the support of another party to force the House to move on to other business. So this will be interesting, because it looks like the Conservatives are set to bring in another, confidence motion, the previous one failing, not surprising there. But now, with all of this corruption, it'll be interesting to see if Jagmeet continues to hold up the alliance that is no longer an alliance.
Well, he's going to, because he's not going to get, if they do a non-confidence vote and he doesn't do whatever, he's not getting his pension. So it's not an alliance. He's just self-preservating at this point.
Yes, but with this being so public and so blatant,
He'll go online in his fancy suit and his weird fucking hat or
Yeah,
towel or whatever
and
and say
one of his
we
two
did it.
Rolexes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and we did this because of this. Has nothing to do with anything else. It's not because we support him, but we, support democracy and
And a
freedom of
week later,
speech, and most of our people are, not objecting
right.
to this and all
yeah,
that
no,
bullshit just so he can keep his fucking money coming in.
well, a week later, people have forgotten about it because that's the way the public works, right? 48 hours
Yeah,
later, next news cycle, it's all forgotten. So I
yeah,
mean, yeah, they'll be pissed off with him for a couple days.
yeah.
Well,
Although it is
Yeah.
interesting here, though, that the bloc leader has said that he plans to start negotiations with the other parties this week to bring down the government if the Liberals do not agree to his party's demands.
Hmm.
Not that he wants them to show the documents,
No, why would you?
but he wants a bill to increase old age security payments for seniors under the age of 75, something that would cost an estimated 16 billion over 5 years. So he's not like, no, 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 you need to like come clean and like tell everyone how the money was spent or like release the names that are like, foreign
Huh.
influence. Nothing beneficial really to like ensuring that we
Anybody
have,
outside of Quebec.
well, ensuring that we have like actual democracy
Mhm.
and not democracy manifest. Rest in peace, by the way.
no.
But
Oh, but
like,
it's just going to be a thing that he can put on his ticket for the next election, just being like, look what I did.
yeah,
I secured this for all of our peoples along with like poutines with extra gravy.
yeah. But yeah, this is insane. I mean, the government that governs least governs best. So like I'm cool with that, but also this is insane. Like how can people like how can we not be like dragging the guillotines out into the streets already at this point when it's so blatant? Like it's just nonstop, like scandal after scandal after scandal after scandal. This is
I'm pretty
our
sure it's
hard-earned
illegal.
money.
It's illegal to bring out the guillotines, I think, at this point.
It's only if we use them. Like
Yeah,
if we
but I
just
mean,
bring them
like,
out and don't even make a
why would you
threat.
bring them out and not use them? But that's what I'm
I'm
saying,
just
right? Like,
saying.
it's been frowned upon because so many people have fucked the system, and most government entities
Oh,
are like, hey,
like
it's going to be used against us way more than the
but
regular
like
Patreons that we
the,
are supposed to represent. That we'll just ban people from using them, and
well,
then
it's
we don't have
insane
to
though.
worry about
Like
our own ass.
the government that like ran on transparency and fairness and like helping the middle class has basically done like not done anything towards those things, has actively worked in the opposite direction. So it's not that you
Yeah.
just didn't increase transparency and just kind of kept status quo. They're actively hiding stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I
and
think
is the
I
middle
want to say
class
there's a
any better
less.
off?
No,
I would.
and I want to say I have a feeling that there's a less trusting government now compared to when they got into
Yeah.
office.
Well,
The general statement. I mean, I don't know for sure because I'm not Stats Canada. I play with numbers, but just all in all, I have a feeling that there's people that probably trusted government, you know, 8, 9, 10 years ago, way more than they do now.
well, some more things that are going to drive some taxes up.
Wait,
Alberta government asks Ottawa to reimburse province for Jasper wildfire recovery costs. So Alberta government wants the federal government to financially compensate the province for costs related to rebuilding Jasper after this summer's wildfire. Alberta's Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services, Mike Ellis, told a federal committee Monday that the provincial government had reduced decision-making power during the immediate aftermath of the Jasper wildfire, but still must foot the recovery bill.
Was it federal government policy or provincial government policy that led to the buildup of the underbrush, which created the fire that burned down the town? And I do believe it's a national park. I would say the federal government is complicit in the cause. So yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
Well, and like, I mean, I could be cold and heartless and be like, this is an Alberta problem. Because like it's a thing that happened in their province and they should look after it. But I mean, I could also say that like it's a Quebec problem and maybe it's time for them to start paying back that money that they get every year. Or at least
Yeah,
From
not take
Alberta?
any this year. Yeah.
that's the problem. It always seems to be one way, right? Like,
Yeah.
but also the fact is like if a disaster hits any part of Canada, it's generally, assisted by the government. But this town is unusual in the fact it's literally in the middle of a federal national park.
Yeah.
It has very limited not just development capability, but very little control of what they can actually do with anything, including like water treatment or anything else,
Yeah.
without federal say so. So it's almost like a federal town to begin with. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough.
That and like, okay,
So,
how much money have we sent to the Ukraine?
More
we
than what
don't
they
talk about that now.
more than what they're going to give Alberta.
Right? So like maybe if we stop sending money to other places, we wouldn't have to argue about this one way or another because the government would just go, "Oh, here,
Especially when we have to borrow money to send it to other places.
yeah." Like, I'm sure it was a liberal that set a fire with the lighter or some matches or something. So like ultimately they're the ones responsible for this fire, but we can't prove that.
But we're also not allowed to break up the guillotine. So, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. But like, for things like this, like, come on, like for things that are legitimately helping the population, like, can we just stop bickering and just do the right thing for this? Like, this is affecting actual Canadians inside of Canada.
But they're
Yeah.
Albertans, so fuck them, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if this had happened in Ottawa,
Or the Canada.
yeah, I mean, barely. They're barely part of Canada. They're part of Canada when Quebec needs to pay off debt, but they are not part of Canada when they need any sort of assistance.
Or Trudeau's doing a speech listing off provinces.
Yeah. But yeah, like this is ridiculous. Like these people all went through something tragic, and here we have no problem shipping off billions of dollars to other places around the world. And when our own people need help, and like you could easily argue who's responsible one way or the other, and it be realistic. Just split the bill, or like like help the people that actually need help that are Canadians. I would not be
So
upset for my tax dollars going to this.
I was just trying to the Google's an article real quick that I believe I saw today. I want to say today or at least in the last day or two, where a funded or whatever third party firefighting entity in Canada was actually being blocked by someone in government to help assist in the fires in that area. And I can't figure out the Google words to put it out. Maybe this will be a part two at some point whenever I figure out where the fuck I saw that article. But it was just something that I'm like, even if that is true, that someone that is responsible for all those things in Canada would actually say, like, hey, no, we're not gonna, you know, go help our fellow country of some sort and all those things, and you're just gonna sit there. And they were blocked for way too long before they were said, like, okay, fine, we need your help. Should that be a thing?
Yeah. No,
Yeah, I got you.
It's insane. And like, then you contrast it with this next one here where Canada has no legal obligation to provide First Nations with clean water.
I'll cover this one if you want, Gavin, if you want to go do your thing there. Anyway, so yeah, so the article from CBC, Says that the First Nations basically have been going back and forth with the government for quite a while about, access to clean water, filtration systems, treatment plants, everything else. And yeah, unfortunately, that's a bit of a double-edged sword. So, Pierre, I know what your take is on this, but have you spent much time on reserves and stuff?
Me?
Yeah.
Probably not for legal things.
So, no, it's interesting enough because with the Indian Act the way it is, I mean, and of course, First Nations, standpoint or political platform is they want independence and autonomy, right? They want to have
Yeah,
an autonomous area. They don't want government interference. They don't want
yeah.
to have anybody but them to have any say in
They
what they
want to
do.
regulate themselves.
Yeah, and they want
Yes.
to run their own show. And
Yeah.
and of course, with a lot of these places, it's not like they haven't been provided already with clean water facilities. They just don't maintain them. So, uh, some of the places, yes, they've never actually had an original one, but they're also stewards of the land on their own reserves and everything else, and who do better than the invaders that we are, uh, on how to manage their lands. And yet somehow, for millennia they're drinking out of lakes and rivers, and now they're too dirty to drink out of. So it's a double-edged sword. Do they want to have autonomy, run the land the way they want to do it, or do they want the government to, basically parent them and provide them with this stuff and pony up for something that they figure they can be independent about? I don't know. It's a bit of it's a tough
It's a
issue. Like,
double-edged sword. Yeah.
yeah, the double-edged sword. I think the Indian Act, I'm the first one to admit, should be scrapped and started over again. If they want full autonomy, have it,
Yeah.
but you can't also come begging for this, that, the other thing.
Yeah, it can't go both ways.
Unless the government, upstream put it like a lithium mine in there, and okay, I got that. Yes, then clearly you should help out with maybe doing some sort of a water treatment plant. But if
Yeah,
the
100%.
but if the water's
Well,
been the same for years, then I don't understand what the issue is to begin with. But
yeah, but I mean, the big takeaway for me from this is government isn't going to save you,
yeah,
right? They're
no,
either going to just bicker over who actually has to fund it to rebuild your town, or just go, actually, we have no legal obligation to help you. I know you're a citizen and pay taxes, maybe some people don't, but big picture, pay taxes.
and this is the one time the government's hiding behind the Indian Act, though, too, right? Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
I know.
they're the first ones to say, well, you want independence, you got it. So, um, it's very interesting the fact that, yeah, that is the major takeaway in the fact that if you are waiting, sitting around waiting for the government to help, you'll be waiting a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, oh, I mean, if it's a thing that you can hunt with drones, wouldn't it be a thing that you can figure out how to purify your own water at the same time?
Well, the problem is though, is like, what do you do when the drone dies? You chuck it into the lake, right?
And
Oh,
and that battery pollutes the water.
Yeah.
okay.
Same
Okay.
thing could be
It
happening with
makes,
boat batteries and quads and skidoos and everything else going into the lake that,
yeah.
you know, I
Okay, it
may
makes a little bit more sense now.
I may or may
Okay.
not have
Sorry.
seen in my day,
I
but
You,
I didn't mean to be a bigot.
uh,
like you jump a couple of skidoos across the open water in the winter, and all of a sudden they're all gone.
strangest thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then weirdly they get new ones every year.
Yeah.
Super weird. Another weird little article here, but I figured I would add this one in. Uh, Man accused of plotting New York City October 7th attack made refugee claim in Canada. So, American news, but with a big Canadian tie-in here. So the FBI has
Yeah.
alleged that this individual, I'm not going to name him because we don't name dirtbags, is a 20-year-old Toronto area resident who was planning to set up an ISIS cell and go to New York and kill people of Jewish lineage. So this person from Pakistan is living in the Toronto area, but is also seeking refugee status in Canada.
Oh well. That takes precedence over anything, let's be honest.
I'm confused.
As to his motives,
how is he seeking refugee status if he's already here? I thought that you can't do that. Like, I know you have to get to the border to claim refugee status, but like, they don't let you in. They take you to an area and hold you and determine if you get it. They don't just go, well, you're already in Toronto.
Did he actually,
So
is it actually refugee status or is it asylum? The reason being is that I can understand if he was basically get extradited to the States and probably executed for doing some random shit, but I mean he didn't actually do it, so I don't understand where he would have any sort of a claim.
yeah. So I mean, according to this, there was like a Mississauga based immigration consultant who'd been working with him who was surprised of the arrest because he hadn't shown any signs of radicalization. But he was here in the process of claiming refugee status on the basis of his sexual orientation.
Hmm.
So I'm not an expert, um, but I'm fairly certain that ISIS is not LGBTQ plus 2S. I think that's the current acronym. Friendly?
LMNOP?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure the plus stands for something we don't want to talk about either, but the
Yeah.
That's
no, I
true.
think when that's actually the basis of his claim because if he got sent back to Pakistan, of course, he'd be facing death, right?
Yes. But he wants
But
to.
also, if you did shit that you deserve to be killed and we can't do it, why can't we send him back?
Well, but he
Allegedly.
he's claiming that he's gay and that the people that like over there that would put him to death are basically the people that he is trying to create a terrorist cell for here. So the people he would be associating with in order to commit these crimes that he is planning would also want him dead. Like, it's very bizarre, but I'm still confused about how somebody who is already in the country gets refugee status.
But quick
Because he's already
thought.
in the country. Maybe this is the problem that
Yeah.
we're having, is that these people that are seeking asylum, refugee status, whatever you want to call it, even if they're trying to do it through legal means, are already in the country. So even if we deny it, what do we do now? They're already in the country.
Yeah.
Like,
So does that mean if we start doing something to the gays won't want to come here?
they're already in the country, Pierre. I hate to tell you that. That's
Yeah, so I mean that just means they're a
there's at
target.
least 338 of them, and there'll be more come next election.
Yeah, but I mean, like so we're so friendly to the fucking gays. And if we weren't, and we were potentially just as harsh as this other country we were speaking of, but was taboo and is not right to do, would they seek asylum here to bullshit their way saying they're gay and then still be able to do whatever acts they're acting upon? If everybody hates the gays, you wouldn't have people saying they're gay to seek asylum, right?
Well, that'd be a tall
Yeah.
order. That'd be a tall order with this government in place. Yeah.
But I mean, to make it worse, that he was planning to commit these crimes with AR style rifles.
Well,
So
that explains 2020 in a nutshell.
yeah, but yeah, like I just
And why we've already spent 67 fucking $1 million.
yeah, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't have immigration and that we shouldn't have asylum and we shouldn't have refugees, because there are legitimate people in need around the world, but also like, can we vet them just like a little bit? Like, just like
Can we do a Google search at least on their name?
like vet them slightly more than we vet politicians.
Google their name.
Yeah.
See what comes up.
That would be a start.
Google their name. Let's
Oh,
just sit there. Fine, we can start looking into everything else, but just Google their name once you've figured out what their actual name is.
yeah. Like that's insane. Like we have so many horrible things happening in this country with people doing violence to one another. And I don't care who you are, what you do, or
No,
whatever, unless you're a pedo
you
or
don't
some
deserve.
other equally shitty person, you don't
I don't give
deserve
a
the
shit either.
violence being done to you, right? But the people that do things like that aren't people, so they no problems there. Morally, I have no problem with those people having violence done to them. I'm not saying I'm condoning people doing it or calling people to action or that I've done it. I'm just saying if it happens, I
Yeah.
won't lose any sleep over it. I will sleep just fine, maybe even a little bit better.
And everybody has their
Yeah.
thing about, I'm sure there's a bunch of liberals that would be
Yeah.
perfectly fine with or unvaxxed tainted blood still being out there.
Right.
And if something was to happen to us, they would be perfectly fine with it. But if we went vice versa about them being tainted blood with vaccinations in their arms or in their body, right? We're bigots, we're assholes, and we're the next Hitlers.
Well,
We
yes,
don't
I
have to
am.
you don't have to
I'm a,
theorize. They literally wrote about that on Twitter and everything else, hoping that we
yeah,
would die and everything else. So it was
yeah, I am still waiting for my winter of death.
severe Nelson
Yeah.
death. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I got a feeling
but
a lot
yes,
more vaxxed people died than unvaxxed people, but
yeah,
nobody
but
wants to
hey,
talk about that.
if not wanting terrorists to come into the country makes me a bigot, then so be it. I will lean into that one
Yeah.
proudly. Um,
Mhm.
One really good thing though about this government shutdown and no new business or no bills being able to be
Mm.
passed. Bill C-293 is, can I say on the back burner? Like, I mean, I guess you can grill vegetables, right?
Yeah,
And like those
technically.
like vegan
Mm.
patties and stuff like that. Like, but I mean, I don't really call that grilling. Grilling to me is grilling meat, but it is on the
Yeah.
back burner until they can agree to disagree or carry on with presenting the corruption things. But
Presented
yeah,
by presented by a vegan member of parliament.
yeah,
And basically it's pandemic preparedness as the guise it's operating under. But in reality, the language is so vague in this bill that basically as soon as it passes, government could literally come out and say, okay, all livestock in Canada is now banned. Therefore, we're all vegans. And that's where the name for the bill came, basically because it is so wide sweeping and arbitrary. There doesn't have to be a pandemic in place for this to be enacted, right? So, um, it's one of those things that's a bit of a sleeper bill, but man,
yeah.
is it far reaching? Like it's crazy. So
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't heard about this, but I mean, I've been a little preoccupied for the last few days. But I mean,
Yeah.
you being
Yeah.
on sabbatical, still even heard about it. So it's out there. But when you brought it up in the pre-show, it's like this can't like no, come on, really?
No.
But sure enough, this is the thing. Like you will eat the bugs, you will have nothing, and you will be happy.
right.
If this goes through, the guillotines being pulled out in the streets, they're
Well,
going to be
that's
releasing the words
like, man,
90% politicians.
if they thought people were annoyed during lockdown and that they were like worried or that like, I mean, what was that report that came out where they're like, if Canadians figure out how broke they actually are, they will riot soon. Can you
Yeah.
imagine like COVID lockdowns happen again or whatever other new thing they decide to lock everyone down for? And then they go, P.S. also you can't eat meat anymore.
Yeah.
Like
Boom.
what?
Buddy, you're
Like
you're taking my bacon away. You're gonna have a fight.
yeah.
Right. I don't know, it's this weird thing that and this is the problem that personal agendas are being pushed politically. I will say 100% vegan is not anything on anybody's radar for politics. Cow farts don't break society. Um, chicken
That's not
eggs,
true at all, according to some
right? Like
people.
chickens laying eggs and pooping to fertilize the broccoli you eat is not a problem. Like the whole kit and caboodle. This is not a political issue. The second personal attractions and vendettas or views start being changed into political issues, or someone can even attempt to push us forward, is where they should be hung by their toes, taken to the guillotines, or tar and fucking feathered in the streets. Because this has nothing to do in politics that we deal with. There is
Yeah.
nothing in the world that says a vegan act is a thing that we should really concentrate on when we are shipping money over to two different goddamn fucking wars. And we can't figure out how to deal with an opioid epidemic in 90% of cities in this fucking
We
country.
can't even figure out how to get the government to turn in evidence against itself when it's being investigated for corruption. Yet they want to
But
like do
but they
this
want to
and
tell
like,
me I can't
Yeah.
fly fucking ground beef anymore or bacon.
But hold
but-
on a second. If this passes, would we all feel obligated to tell each other that we're vegan, or would it just be assumed now? Like, because I mean, normally they'll tell you right off the bat, right? That's how we
Yeah.
do as politicians
Don't.
too.
I mean,
I
that could
guess,
sound
yeah.
a lot of small talk with people.
Well, that and like so, what it's so.
Does that mean soy lattes are becoming famous?
It'll just be
Sadly, I think they already are famous.
They'll just be lattes because everybody will be doing soy.
Yeah, I think everyone already is, or at least the vast majority
Well,
of people are.
In
Gotta
certain
have those
towns,
seed oils, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, how do you? And like, what do they even consider livestock in this? Like, and is it like
Everything
it's
that
so
breathes.
vague, right? Is it going to be like we're going to just flip the switch and all of it's cut off, or only certain things? Where do crickets fit into this? Are they livestock or are they not livestock?
Well, no, they're not livestock because we don't farm them.
But we do now.
in
Well,
London, Ontario,
no.
I
So
think.
they're
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
They're not going to farm them. That's the thing, right? Like
I mean, not in a traditional sense, but
exactly. So that's all that matters, right? Because cows are cute, and they're gonna adopt them and put them in their living room and watch
oh, this is
Frozen with them.
so insane. Like,
But crickets are annoying if you were to put them in your house and try and watch Frozen. So we can kill those.
and this is my problem with a lot of these things is that we need to.
Vegans suck.
I mean, as individuals, they can be okay. I disagree with their diet, but like whatever, their life choice, not mine. But like the government needs to get away from making moral judgments and only stick to like does doing this thing violate the Charter of Rights? Right? Like if I go do a thing and it violates the I have it up on the wall here, this document, then I shouldn't be able to do it. If it
But you're also
doesn't,
not a politician.
if it does not
Most of
violate
those-
that document, you don't have to like that I can do it or agree that I'm doing it or whatever. But it's none of your fucking business.
Yeah, in the same way that hate speech is still free speech. I mean, you don't have to like
Yeah.
it, but yeah.
Right? Like until I start like calling to action and go kill all the vegans, or which oddly enough, if I imagine if I got up on my soapbox in the center square as I'm allowed to do and say that I think that vegans are terrible and they should all be put to death. Not that I'm calling to action, I'm just saying I think they should be because I
they're gonna
disagree with it and they are a detriment to our society and a risk to everything. As is my right, I imagine that I would get in big trouble for this. But if I
No,
were to
don't
get up
worry
on
about-
that same soapbox in that same square and go, death to meat eaters,
Yeah,
I imagine there'd be a totally different response.
But also, if you say that about vegans, 90% of the time, after about a 3-minute argument, they needed a nap or a kale.
Well, yeah, I mean, low energy and all the thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and like, it's not like they could actually like pull me
Take a
down
swing
off
at
my
you?
soapbox. Well, I mean,
No.
they could try, but like, I probably wouldn't feel
Yeah.
it.
No, their arms might snap.
Kale tastes like I'd rather be fat.
Yeah, and to answer a question here, from the problem, would eating politicians be considered a vegan thing? So I
Depends if
guess,
they supported the vegan bill.
well, so I
If they
guess
only eat vegan, why would they not be vegan?
so I guess the big thing with veganism isn't so much the eating of the meat, it's that the animals can't consent to it. Politicians are unfortunately considered people, which means they have, the ability to speak and reason and do those things. So if a politician could consent to being eaten and did, would that be vegan?
So technically the grass never agreed to be eaten.
Yeah, but the grass
And
doesn't
that's
have a conscious thought.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's still a living organism at the end of the day.
Well, but I guess
Like-
that's where, like, how do you define that, right?
Well, it's quite simple, in my opinion. But also, if they support veganism, are they an entity since they don't consume any entities of meat products? They're just full of bullshit at that point.
I mean, I don't think they would taste very good. It's kind of like, you're not supposed to eat like animals that eat other animals because they don't taste very good.
Yeah, but they're going to
Politicians
be the
definitely
closest.
eat their own, so
Yeah, but I mean, vegans are going to be the closest thing to grass-fed, free-range fucking meat when the apocalypse happens,
I mean, you got a point there.
right?
As long
Like-
as they can consent to it, then I think it's still vegan. Because I think that's the defining thing, is that, like, plants don't have feelings, animals
Allegedly.
do.
Politicians are
Allegedly
sociopaths.
on
They
both
don't-
sides.
They don't have
Yeah,
feelings.
politicians don't have feelings either, but like, yeah.
Allegedly on both sides.
Yeah.
But
Also, it would also be the very Dutch thing to do because they did eat a politician at one point. And
And I mean,
I'm for it.
they seem to be doing fine.
Yeah, I
those
mean, they're
countries.
kind of like 50-50 on some things, but like,
But all encompass, they seem to be
Yeah.
doing a lot better than all the fucking news articles we've talked about tonight.
it's true. I don't think they're
Like-
dealing with some of the things that we're talking about. And so, yeah, that's definitely better. But yeah, this is insane.
Yeah.
So thankfully, through all of the nonsense that's going on, this bill is being delayed. And if JT prorogues Parliament in order to get out of doing all of the things, this bill will instantly die along with all of the other ones.
Mhm.
But I guess we will wait and see about that. But yeah,
Is it because we didn't water the bill enough
probably, yeah.
for it to grow like grass?
Well, you know what makes the grass grow?
Blood of
But I also
tyrants.
have a question.
Blood.
Blood. Yeah. But I also have a question. Like, we'll all walk by a barbecue and like you smell something good cooking and their mouths water.
Oh,
If a vegan walks by someone cutting the grass, does their mouth water?
it's a good question. Or do they just hear like the silent screams of the little blades of grass falling?
Well, they eat
But they don't
everything else
care.
that's fucking green. Yeah, that's fine. Right? But I'm just curious
Yeah.
if their mouth waters when they hear someone cutting grass or smell it.
Wow.
What a day.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So glad that I ate meat today.
No, 100%. I just had a meat lovers.
But this is the other thing. So I don't have enough, like, and my city doesn't allow me to raise chickens or cows or all of the things unless I have like a rural zoning. This is like, I mean, everyone had their COVID garden, right? Where they're like, I'm gonna plant 3 heads of lettuce and sustain myself. And you're like, that's not gonna be enough. That's gonna make you like maybe 6 salads, depending on how many people in your household. Maybe 1 salad, maybe not even.
Yeah. Depending how much you like to eat.
Yeah. I can't raise cattle or chickens or pigs in my yard. There's not enough space for it. So please don't let this bill pass.
Yeah, at that point, you're gonna have to get rid of your pool, buddy.
Or I'm going to just start using that as the pen for the chickens and the pigs and everything.
Just drain it and leave them all in the hole.
Yeah. it puts the butter on its skin or it gets the hose again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's gonna be
it's
insane. Oh, I hate
Yeah.
this timeline. Why did we have to shoot that gorilla?
Honk honk.
Yeah. No, you can't say that. That is
yeah,
bigoted,
that's
Ian.
Oh,
That
sorry.
is gonna get us all arrested.
that's gonna get us arrested
Well,
in jail, or
oh God,
at least in a court battle.
clown world is far too real. But on that note, Ian, where can everybody find you when you are not eating meat or advocating for, looking after yourself?
Well, yeah, honestly, I'd like to say that I'm on Canadian Prepper podcast a lot, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. However, I've been missing a lot of those just because of my work schedule, but occasionally on there. TheIslandRetreat@gmail.com would probably be the best bet, or here, but not much else. Still haven't really latched onto the social medias.
Pierre, where can people find you and or your other half selling your wares and things?
Off the wall customizing a Gmail, because we've been too cheap to try and figure out how to make our own thing, and it costs a lot of money. Or the occasional time, Sunday nights as well, with Ian on the other Coffee Cat CPP. I deleted my Instagram and all that stuff a little while ago. Best decision I have ever made. So,
Well, I don't
Yeah.
disagree with you. Mental health is important, and that place is batshit crazy.
yes.
You can find me personally, as I say this, on the Instagram Cervix GTA, but I'm not on there very frequently. Just, the occasional Fed post, to remind that I'm still here. And then even less frequently on the Discord, but some of our people are far more active on there. Also, if you've waited this long, you deserve a discount. Use the code
Isn't it
Patriot.
Gilded?
No, we went back to the Discord because Gilded is Roblox and pedos and groomers and all the things.
Oh, well, shit.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Yeah, that's all right. Social media is the devil, as we're on social media right now, putting our message out to the world. But that's okay because Uncle Ted said that it's okay to use
Some
this
things
medium as
for
long as
the
it furthers the
gooderness.
cause.
Yeah.
And so we're doing that, hopefully, by preaching to the choir for all 10 people that actually care what we think. But we appreciate all of you, all 10 of you. But yes, if you've listened this long, you deserve a discount. RagnarOkTactical.ca. Use the code Patriot at checkout for all of your medical and or tactical needs. I also have it on good authority that Rod has contacted CPP, and we are in the process of scheduling his appearance on CPP. So
Yes.
stay tuned for that. We are sorry
Fantastic
that
news.
it's taking so long and that he's not on tonight, but very soon he will be on CPP. You heard it here, folks. We're going to make it happen. Also, remember, you are a small fringe minority with unacceptable views and delicious, tasty barbecue.